Hey, I'm Ryan. I've been coaching social skills full-time for over 10 years now. Today, I'm going to talk about taking risks in social situations. Being a risk taker in nearly all social situations, I would say, is the third most important thing in social skills overall. The first most important thing is definitely what kind of car you've got. No, I'm joking. The first most important thing is, in my opinion, managing your own emotions, and by a very long way. Your emotions are going to influence either all of or very close to all of any decisions that you make, and also ends up being emitted outwards to others in the form of voice tone, body language, and energy. The second most important thing in social skills, in my opinion, is fast thinking rather than slow and perfect thinking. This is one of many reasons why the person who's a stereotypical nerd ends up doing worse in social situations, despite usually being on average more intelligent. They're using their intelligence in the wrong format, which is ironically not that intelligent. So the person who's okay fast tends to always do better, nearly always do better than the person who's perfect slow. If you're perfect slow, you're a lot of the time going to have a great solution for something that doesn't exist anymore in a social situation, whether that be an answer to a question or a reaction to something someone said or something like that, because things move quickly. And also, there's not just one thing going on, there's like hundreds of things going on at all times. So the person who's fixated on being perfect in one thing that they're doing, thinking of something to say, reading someone's body language or whatever, is missing loads and loads of other stuff. So that's why fast thinking outdoes slow and perfect thinking by miles in social situations. I'll go through those two, managing our emotions and quick thinking, in loads more detail in another video. But now I'm going to come on to the third most important thing, in my opinion, in social skills overall. And that's risk-taking. Social situations massively favour the person who takes risks rather than the safe option. First, I'll just differentiate between a risky option versus a stupid option. Me throwing my filming equipment out of a window right now to make this video funny and then setting it on fire would be a stupid option, not a risky option, because I know very, very close to 100% that it's a bad idea. So what I'm talking about is if you're not sure whether it's a good idea or not. So if you're not sure whether your topic is boring or not, if you're not sure if your joke is funny or not, or in nearly all situations, close to 100% of scenarios, I'd recommend to always just do it. The only exceptions being a super, super formal situation, like a job interview or a funeral, or somewhere where there's like a potential big danger. So it could be someone is like clearly violent in the room, or it could be perhaps like another culture where they have some really strict laws around what you can say and stuff like that. Those scenarios like job interview, funeral, are definitely way less than 1% of social situations. Those are the only situations I'd recommend you take the safe option rather than the risk. Every other scenario, if you're not sure whether something is a good idea or not, I'd highly recommend that you just do it. I would say you progress with your social skills from that point on its own, if you didn't do that already, probably like 2 to 3 times faster. And I'll explain why as we go. The risky option tends to be the better one most of the time, the majority of the time. I'd say, obviously, as you can see from this outfit, I'm not a walking spreadsheet, but I would say it's the better one probably about 7 times out of 10. It's way more likely to be memorable, funny, interesting, show confidence, give you an interesting story afterwards, even if a risk went badly, and is pretty much guaranteed to increase your confidence over time, just from passing through the emotional barrier that might occur a lot of the time of doing the thing that feels risky and having a variation of experiences, and it will advance your social skills loads. I think that in the academic system and in a lot of common jobs that people have these days, people are kind of pushed towards taking safe options rather than risks. This definitely makes sense in a lot of instances. If you're an engineer building a bridge and you're like, I'm going to take as many risks as possible. Ryan said, if I'm not sure, always take a risk. And he forgot to focus on the part where I said that I meant in social situations. Then obviously that's like super dangerous, right? Someone's probably going to die, and probably some fish are going to die as well. But in social situations, out of 100 random interactions, there's going to be a lot more ones that are positive rather than negative. If what I mean by positive is that the net result of everyone their emotions was higher and felt nicer afterwards versus before. Also, the penalties and what can happen when a risk goes wrong in social situations is usually very mild, and the rewards tend to be quite high. So just to explain a bit more. Here's why the vast majority of social interactions have a positive result, even if it's only a very slight positive result in terms of people's emotional state improving rather than decreasing. As far as my understanding of biology goes, obviously I'm not a biologist, but also added to that, tons and tons and tons and tons of experience of social stuff and seeing different people interacting from coaching. I'm pretty sure that humans are programmed biologically to have a positive effect on their mood and their brain chemistry from any social situation, just as long as it's not negative. So even if it seemed neutral and like basically nothing happened, I'm almost completely certain that people will feel at least a tiny bit better afterwards. So even one person asks another person directions, no one smiles or anything, they just exchange the information and one of them says thanks and then they depart. Or someone that makes small talk for 10 seconds, I'm pretty close to certain that as long as it wasn't negative, the people involved felt better afterwards. And guess what? Humans like having positive emotions. I'm sure you do as well. Due to the fact that humans enjoy positive emotions, I'm so simple when I say this, it equals everyone in the situation, almost for certain, is incentivized to make it go well. So that's why it's much more likely that a social situation is going to be good rather than bad, because people involved want to feel positive emotions, so they're likely to make some effort to try to make the interaction positive, unless they're currently in a really bad mood or hate the look of that person or something like that, which is a very low percentage of the time. Also, negative events in social situations tend to be much, much, much less significant than positive ones. And the reason for this also sounds so simple. If person A and B are having a bad time, they're probably going to want to end the interaction. And if person A and B are having a good time, they're probably going to want to continue the interaction. Therefore, the bad times tend to last way shorter than the good times. So this is one reason why risk taking is very effective in social situations, just because by default it's more likely to be positive by quite a lot than negative, because humans like to have positive emotions and we have evolved through biology to be very social animals and therefore be rewarded heavily for social interaction, just as long as it's not negative, in my opinion, even if pretty much nothing happens. The worst thing realistically that can happen from a risk going wrong in social situations, and remember what I mean by risk here is you're not sure whether it's a good idea or not that you're basically completely sure if it's a bad idea. I would say that's a stupid option rather than a risk. The worst realistic thing that can happen that's bad is it's a bit awkward for a while, someone gets a bit offended for a while, something like that. That's the worst realistic thing that can happen. From my own coaching and other coaches who work with me reporting back to me, the instance of a physical confrontation due to new people socializing is so extremely low. I think over the course of me coaching for 10 years and the total of my other coaches at the moment for like 15 more years, there's been 2 or 3 situations and that's it. Maybe if you live in the favela in Brazil, shout out if you do, then that might be a bit different. So if you're from some super rough area, that might not be the case, right? But in most areas around the world, I'd imagine it's the same. Also, I think it's very rare that people fall out in a group of friends and decide that they don't like each other now based off of an honest, actual mistake. Not, and it's very important to cite this, not something that wasn't a mistake that that person is trying to claim is a mistake, but from an actual honest mistake. The vast majority of the time when people fall out in a group of friends, it's due to either someone purposely trying to cause someone else a negative experience for some reason, someone losing control of their emotions and acting in a way that then bothers other people, or from someone acting on their self-interest and trying to like take someone's boyfriend or girlfriend or their stuff or their money, or try to look more cool than them in the group and act superior to them. That kind of thing equals self-interest. And they might claim that it was a mistake or something else after. But I think it's super rare that an honest mistake, so a risk being something that you're not sure is a good idea or not, I think it's super unlikely to cause a proper fallout among a group of friends. Positive things that can happen from taking risks in social situations are you end up with a new friend, a date or a relationship, networking for business, a really cool story, you learn loads of stuff, you have the better mental health because you're socializing more, you improve your social skills more, and what else? There's probably other random opportunities. These are all quite substantial. The worst thing realistically that's going to happen in a social situation, or from a social situation you start, or from doing a risk, something you're not sure if it's a good idea or not, just do it. The worst thing that can realistically happen is someone is a bit annoyed in some form for a bit. The best thing that can happen is that you end up in a friendship or relationship with someone for like 10 or 20 years or something like that. As you can see, clearly the odds are stacked massively in your favor from starting interactions with new people, which we could kind of class also as a risk, something when you're not sure whether it's a good idea or not. Always just do it outside of that very, very tiny percentage of exceptions that I gave earlier. Now here is the main number one reason why risk taking is really effective in social situations. Taking the risky option in social situations equals you learn and improve more way faster. Say we took two AI programs, both playing a computer game. The first AI does the same thing every time. The second one makes mistakes and learns. Obviously, the second one's going to be better, isn't it? If we split you onto two timelines, UA and UB, both exactly the same, but UA always takes the safe option. If they're not sure if something's a good idea or not, they take the safe one. And UB, if they're not sure if something's a good idea or not, they take the risky one. UB is going to end up having more friends, more dating, more cool stories, better social skills is the main thing, obviously, and better confidence, kind of very, very intertwined. And like I said, I would say by making a switch from choosing the safe option when you're not sure to choosing the risky option when you're not sure, I would say you'll improve your social skills literally 2 to 3 times as fast, just from that one rule, which is logically very easy to follow. Sometimes it might be a bit hard to follow that rule because your emotions might get in the way, we have nervousness or whatever. But that's also another reason why it's good, because anytime you pass through an emotional barrier to do something in a social situation, when you know that you should do it. So for example, you are in like a location where you're waiting around, like the bus is late, and there's someone there that you can talk to. You like the look of them or something, so you want to talk to them. You don't have anything important you're doing. They don't look like they're clearly doing something they really don't want to be spoken to. Logically, you probably should go and talk to them. But most people have an emotional block at that point and try to find excuses like, oh, maybe their shoes aren't turned in the right direction or something. The best excuse I ever had was, no, I can't talk to that person because I'm wearing gloves and it makes me look like a terrorist. So when you know that you should do the thing, but your emotions are blocking you, if you pass through your emotions to go and do the thing that you know you should logically in a social situation, you make a lot of progress by doing that. And by taking a risky option, you're going to encounter that kind of scenario a lot more often. So it equals you progress your social skills way faster and at the same time get loads of side benefits, connections, experiences, etc. Obviously, one risk looked at in isolation could be the bad option, right? So some of the risks are going to go wrong, obviously. If we look at one on its own, we can say, look, see, there was a risk and it was bad, and someone who uses annoying logic but isn't proper logic might try to do that. Anytime you're looking at what does this behavior or this way of thinking, what effect does it have in social situations, always make sure to think of it over the course of 1,000 random situations, not one on its own. It's because there's pretty close to nothing that is 100% or 0% in social situations. If I had the best thing to say ever and I did it to 100 million people, someone's going to hate me at some point. If I threw poo at everyone's face to 100 million people, at some point someone's going to love it and want to be my friend. So nothing's going to always work or always not work. No matter how good or bad you are, something's going to go good or bad. So due to that, you can't look at one individual situation on its own. You need to look at a large sample size in order to decide this is a good thing overall that I'm doing for society and for myself, or a bad thing. So risks, most of the time, they're the better option, and they produce better results. And therefore, the people you're interacting with will end up having more positive emotions and some other useful things, like maybe you tell them something useful that helps them later, versus there'll be a few times the much smaller percentage, a minority of that sample, where you caused someone some disturbance. And like I said earlier, those kinds of negative scenarios end up lasting way less time, and the positive ones end up lasting way more, because people want to continue positive stuff and don't want to continue negative stuff. So anytime in a social situation, you're not sure whether to do this thing or this thing, always take the risk. Outside of super formal situation, job interview, funeral, or potential huge danger, i.e. someone might physically stab you with a spear, or you're going to go to jail if you say one word out of place. So that's like a very small minority of social situations. This is a huge advancement that you can make. I'd highly recommend it. Thanks for watching, guys. That was the third most important thing in social situations / social skills, risk taking. We also offer one-to-one social skills coaching, and that will be tailored for you, for what you want to work on. We go through topics such as, but not limited to, overcoming nervousness in social situations, how to never run out of things to say in conversation, reading body language, how to be funny, how to flirt and date, how to build a circle of friends, persuasion. There's a few more. You can check us out on the website, and you can book a completely free trial session for one-to-one coaching there. It's totally free. It's about half an hour or so. If you find my videos helpful at all and you want to improve your social skills, then you should definitely do it. It makes complete sense too. It's free, it's not much time, you already think my stuff's good. So you go to my website and then you can book one. We've also got a WhatsApp group chat where we discuss social situations and I answer people's questions on there. So there should be a link in the description to join that as well. And we've got a course on conversation, how to never run out of things to say in conversation. You can see that on the website as well. It also goes through how to overcome nervousness. Yeah. So I'll be back soon, trying to make some more longer videos now. I'm on TikTok as well, got way more followers on TikTok, but here I can explain things way more thoroughly and include like every detail. See you guys soon. Please do the usual YouTube things like comment, subscribe, etc. if you want to see my channel grow. My aim is to help Earth be a happy place through coaching social skills. Peace out.